we're down to what love does not look like. And we basically know that it's pretty much the opposite of what we just spoke on. We know some of the things that love looks like. We know that the opposite of those things is what it does not look like. But I'm going to state some of them anyway, right? Selfishness. First, we spoke about selflessness. So, selfishness, of course, is something that love does not look like. Um, Putting yourself first all the time instead of your mate, their needs, their desires, their wants. Be in tune to that. And when you can't be in tune to that, that's not exercising love. Um, Taking with no giving, you know, um, taking with no giving, that's not exercising love. That's feeding into the selfishness, right? You want to be a giver as you're being given unto. You don't want to be a selfish person known for taking. Um, Impatience, being impatient and having a very uh, crude nature when it comes to that. Another trait of love is understanding it, and so the opposite of that is being impatient, and having a nature that is negatively urgent. It's a negative kind of urgency, excuse me, and that is not a depiction of love, and that is not something that you want to carry into a relationship, and it's for sure something that you don't want to carry into a kingdom marriage. So, impatience. Another thing is I put inconsiderateness, being inconsiderate. Being inconsiderate, never thinking about, the other person, never taking into consideration something that they may like to do, never taking into consideration something that they may enjoy receiving, and they're always thinking of it, coinciding with the taking and never giving. All these tie in together when it's always all about you and what you're receiving, but you're never giving to someone else. That is not the depiction of love. That is not a characteristic of love. It all ties into selfishness, self-centeredness, and being self-seeking. Once again, all tied into just that. When you are in the center right there, and it's always all about you and not your mate, not your wife or your husband, then it's not what you would call love. It's not a depiction of that. And the last few that I put on here were deceit, dishonor, and abrasiveness. Deceit, dishonor, and abrasiveness. If you are being deceptive with the person that you are claiming to love, with the person whom you are supposed to be spending life with, being deceptive, that is not a depiction of love. That is not a characteristic of love. If you are dishonoring, and if you are being deceitful, you're dishonoring. You're dishonoring them. And I don't understand how anybody could want to dishonor someone who they are spending life with and who they are claiming to love. So that is definitely not a depiction of that. And being abrasive and rude, a way of speaking to a person, a way of handling a person, in whatever situation, that is the opposite of gentleness. So that is not a depiction of love. And what I really want everyone to do is to really, blessed God, what I want everyone to really do is just to use these and just think about where you are, and think about how you have handled whomever it is that you are in covenant with, or whom you are moving to be in covenant with, who you have an ideation that you are supposed to be in covenant with. Like, are you stewarding that relationship? Are you stewarding that friendship that is supposed to move into covenant relationship in the manner that God would be pleased with? Are you stewarding it in that way, giving um, I don't even want to keep saying the depiction of love. Are you exercising the characteristics of love? Are you really showing who He is in your actions with a person? Because ultimately, it's His purpose that is supposed to come forth. And so, if it's His purpose that is supposed to come forth, you have to be able to steward the relationship well. And even the love story aspect, aside of just the assignments, because you don't understand that love sometimes is an assignment, because it's not always easy to love. You don't know how much you love somebody until you experience hurt, and I mean real hurt from someone, and you really do forgive and you move forward in spite of, and you allow God to work in you and that person, and cultivate and develop you in that relationship or friendship or whatever the case may be, and let Him remove those things out of you. And it doesn't always feel good. You get cut. You get cut some more, not just from that person, but you get cut some more. You'll begin to experience different situations that are really developing you in so many different facets to show the kind of love that God has for us, which is agape, because that is what you are supposed to have in the marriage, in the relationship, right? So, um, yeah, there are different experiences that you will have to definitely prepare you for that. I'm going to go off into Colossians, Colossians number 3. And I told you I was going to start with, blessed God, hold on, here comes this loud truck. All right, okay. So we're starting at verse 10. So it says, put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. In this new life, it doesn't matter if you are a Jew or a Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbaric, uncivilized, slave or free. Christ is all that matters, and He lives in all of us. I'm reading from the New Living Translation, okay? Since God chose you to be the holy people He loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful. Let the message about Christ in all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom He gives. Sing psalms and hymns and sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. And whatever you do or say, do it as a representative of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through Him to God the Father. Wives, submit to your husbands as it is fitting for those who belong to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and never treat them harshly. Doesn't abrasiveness sound synonymous with harsh? Yeah. So I just wanted to re-present this and begin a dialogue. And we're going to go from here and see what direction that God begins to Let us go in.